Hey everybody, Jeremy here, and quadcopters have become extremely popular in mainstream culture. They're no longer just for enthusiasts who like to take these expensive aerial vehicles out into the middle of nowhere and perform amazing acrobatic fleets to all their buddies who know about the same things that they do. This is something that has become so popular that you can find flying quadcopters and helicopters and all kinds of machines, even in the toy section of popular retail stores. Flying these drones can be very fun, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily get an expensive piece of machinery and instantly turn it into a bunch of scrap on the ground, or it can be something that can fly away into the atmosphere never to be seen again. So if you are interested in quadcopters, but you don't quite want to shell out hundreds and hundreds of dollars for something that you may break and or lose, there are alternatives to that. Case in point, what's right here behind me. This is the Parrot Mini Drones Rolling Spider, also known as the Parrot Rolling Spider. What this is a $99 mini quad that you can sync to your iPhone or your Android device via a special app, and it will allow you to control the quadcopter both indoors and outdoors without really any prior knowledge. Now, does that make it easy to fly so that anyone can do it? Well, kind of, but you also have to be careful with this too, because yeah, it can fly away if you don't know what you're doing, but because it is so cheap, it is a very low barrier of entry and allows anyone who has a smartphone or a tablet, which is the majority of people these days, to experience quadcopters on a much safer and much cheaper level. So when you purchase this quadcopter, you're going to get a few things. First and foremost, of course, you are going to get the Parrot Rolling Spider. And this is a pretty small drone. As you can see, sitting here in the palm of my hand, you know, the width of it is barely wider than my hand. It has these 4 propellers here with these motors attached to each end, and it accepts a very small battery right on this backside. You may also notice that the front of this mini quad sort of looks like a face, and that's intentional. Parrot did that on purpose, because inside the box you'll actually get some stickers that you can put on this mini quad, and you can sort of give it a different expression. And because these 2 lights also light up whenever you turn the quad on and is flying about, it also gives it a little bit more of expressive face to it. Also, what you're going to get in the box is this thing here. This is why the Parrot Rolling Spider is called the Rolling Spider. This serves 2 purposes. One, it allows the Parrot Rolling Spider to literally roll up walls vertically and even across walls horizontally once it's reached the ceiling. And that's because these wheels that's connected to this long plastic piece here actually spin and move. So that's a nice little fun gimmick for it, but it's also included in the box for protection, because when you're first learning how to fly this thing, you are going to run into a wall, you are going to crash. This protects it. This will protect the quad for when it inevitably hits the wall in some direction. It will prevent the propellers from being damaged and flying off. So they're also sort of, I guess you can say, training wheels. In order to control the mini quad, you're going to have to download the free Flight 3 app, either from Google Play or the Apple App Store. And this app will allow you to control the quadcopter, and it also gives you a variety of options that will match your specific needs. Some of the basic control options include setting how fast the quad can turn, how high it can rise, how fast it can rise, and whether or not you actually have the wheels attached to it or not. These are all options that you can change whenever you like in order to help you grow as a pilot. So you don't necessarily have to feel that you're stuck in an advanced state when you really are just cutting your teeth and trying to learn the very basics. And for all the gamers out there, there's also a nifty joypad mode that will let you control the quad using 2 virtual thumbsticks. And this is personally my favorite way to control the quad, because even though there's no tactile feedback, I feel more comfortable using 2 joysticks as opposed to the accelerometer controls, which are also included with this quadcopter as well. And if you do choose to use the joypad controls, you can also record your quad while it's flying using your camera's built-in rear-facing camera. As a novice pilot, I started out flying the quad indoors with and without the attached wheels. And when I thought I had a better grip on things, I would fly it without the wheels just so I can see what it would be like all natural. And I hit a wall once or twice. And sometimes when I would hit a wall, the propellers would fly off, which is no big deal because they can be attached and reattached very easily. But it did come to the point where one of the propellers would not stay on no matter what I did. I couldn't even get the quad to take off slightly before it threw the same prop and would just hurl itself towards the ground again. I ended up having to buy additional props just to replace the one that wouldn't sit flush anymore. It just kept sliding off as if it was lubricated or something. And it made me realize it would have been great if an included pair of extra props were included in the box. One of the things that impressed me the most about this quad was how stable it was. As it's sitting there hovering in midair waiting for input from you, it tends to hold its position very well. But I did notice that the more time I spent with this quad, the less stable it seemed to have gotten. It doesn't drift a whole lot anymore, but it doesn't hold its position as good as it used to when it was fresh out of the box. And I also noticed on a few occasions it would not really obey my commands. It would tend to take itself higher and higher into the sky, even though I never told it to rise in the first place. And if I weren't indoors, there's a good chance that the quad would have flown away by now. I can't say whether this is an isolated incident or if this is just the way these quads will degrade over time, but it is something that I personally have experienced and it worries me a little bit. However, if your quad does behave itself, you can pull off some really cool things with this. It's made for the novice user and the user who is mostly going to do things on their smartphones anyway. It's so good that you can even perform flips and tricks simply by double tapping a specific direction. This quad will automatically do a really cool flip and then rebalance itself so that you can resume normal flying procedures. It's a really cool way to show off and make people think that you have some really good flying skills when you really don't know anything at all. The competition for consumer-level quadcopters is really heating up, so you have to ask yourself whether spending $99 on the Parrot mini drone is worth the price or not. There's absolutely no shortage of other drones that you could purchase that will also give you a similar 8 to 10 minutes of flight time for a cheaper price. I can't say I would recommend purchasing this for a child because once the quad does crash a few times, you may have to endure some maintenance. And if a prop becomes loose or broken like mine has, you'll have to spend extra money on Amazon or some other place in order to buy extra props. Otherwise, the quad will be useless. Perhaps it'll be a better spend of your money to buy something that is cheaper until you get used to it. And then maybe you can graduate to the $99 Parrot quad. But make no mistake, the Parrot mini drone is very sturdy. It feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's going to break. It definitely doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like it's made out of hollow plastic that just happens to fly in the air. I also like the controls inside of the smartphone app. They're very easy to get used to and very easy to adjust on the fly. I personally miss having physical controls because sometimes I can't really tell where my thumbs are on the screen, but that's something that you'll just have to get used to over time. I do recommend this mini quad, but I do have reservations. You just have to be prepared to spend a little extra money for when you throw a prop, and you're going to have to be extra careful. Make sure that you are in a place that has relatively wide open spaces just to minimize the chances of you crashing into something and damaging the quad to the point where it doesn't quite behave the way that it used to. Other than that, this is a fun little thing, and it can be a nice gateway into getting you something fancier like a DJI Phantom. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and until next time, I'm Jeremy, and I will talk to you later.